So the first question is, what is Microsoft Azure actually? So Microsoft Azure is collection of services to work with the cloud. So there are other platforms as well, like you are aware, IBM Cloud, AWS. So Azure is a platform to work with the Azure Cloud provided from Microsoft. So it has lots of services to work with the underlying infrastructure. So there are other cloud providers as well, like AWS, IBM Cloud, Google Cloud. Okay. So Microsoft offering is known as Microsoft Azure. Initially, its name was Windows Azure, but later it was renamed to Microsoft Azure. So it has lots of services, virtual machines, storage service for storing the data, app service for deploying the applications, backend services for mobile applications, okay, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT. So there is a very big list of services offered from Azure. Okay, so in today's session, we will see a few services and we will develop applications and we will see how to work with the services. Now, second point is how to start with Azure. Okay, so Azure provides you 30 days of free account. So you can create a account and you can use Azure services free of cost for 30 days. Okay, so let me show you how to start. So I'm searching Microsoft Azure account. So click on this first link. Click on this start free. So you can use your existing Microsoft account or you can create new one. So I'm clicking on create one. So I'm creating the test account. So this is my username and outlook.com is the domain from Microsoft. So it will create a new email account. So click on next. So I have to create a password. So we have to solve this puzzle. So it is verifying whether the user is a robot or actual user. So click next. So we have to rotate. Yeah. So here we have to provide our details. Click on next. Now it will send a OTP on the mobile number which you have provided here. So it will do the verification. Okay. After the phone verification is passed, it will do the verification with the credit card. Okay. So you have to provide your actual credit card number and its expiry date and CVV number. Okay. After that, it will charge 2 rupees on your card, and the free account will be created for you. Okay. So there will be no charges for 30 days. So it will provide you a credit of around 14,000 rupees for 1 month. Okay. So if you utilize 14,000 in 1 month, then there is no charge. After 1 month, if you keep on using this account, then it will incur some charges on your credit card. So now I'm closing this Azure portal login. I'm searching this one. Click on this. So I'm already logged in here. Then clicking on this portal. So this is the portal from Microsoft. Using this portal, we can access all Azure services and we can accomplish our task. So you can see here it is displaying me the credit which is remaining. Okay. So, and if you want to see at any moment of time, if you want to see how much credit is left, then you can come here, this one, cost management. So there is no cost yet. Now there are some terms which we will discuss now. The first one is infrastructure as a service. The second one is platform as a service, and third one is software as a service. So these three are the types of cloud offering. So each cloud provider, whether it is AWS, Azure, or IBM Cloud or Google Cloud, so they provide their services in these three categories. So in the infrastructure as a service, basically we are acquiring some servers, some resources, some database server from the cloud provider. Okay, like the example is virtual machine. Okay, so basically we rent or lease some infrastructure from a cloud service provider. Okay, so the cloud service provider, it is responsible for the procuring physical server, storage and related hardware. It is also responsible for installing and set up the network and all other things like power supply, cooling, backup. So it is all managed by the cloud provider. So basically we are renting or we are taking some hardware on lease. So this is the type of infrastructure as a service. And the best suitable example is virtual machine. Okay. And after that, platform as a service. We have the hardware, like we have our development machine. We can develop the project in .NET or in PHP or in Java, but we want to deploy our application on cloud. We still want the infrastructure from the cloud provider, but we are managing it. In that case, it is the example of platform as a service. We are not interacting directly with the hardware. Okay. So we are not doing any kind of setup. It's all provided from Azure. So we are just going and deploying our application. So it is example of platform as a service. Then there is a question how to decide for deployment whether it should be app service or virtual machine. So if you are a .NET developer and you have developed a MVC application or ASP.NET application, only there is single application, okay, then the app service, or you can say platform as a service, it is the best choice. So app service is the offering, it's offering platform as a service offering from Microsoft. So app service is the best choice. And apart from your software, if you have some third party softwares, or if you have some .NET applications which you want to manage, like some Windows service, some console based application, some legacy exe, in that case you want complete control, okay, in that case virtual machine is the suitable option. So I'm in Azure portal, so click on all resources. So click on add. So I'm going to create a Windows server. Windows server. This one, Windows Server 2016 data center. So we have to create a group for this. So basically, virtual machine is a resource, and we have to create each and every resource in a group. So resource group is for grouping the resources. Suppose you are using Azure for your project, and there are two projects. So you can categorize your resources according to the project. So you can create the resource group according to your project, so that you can identify easily that which resource belongs to which project. And this is the machine name, new demo VM. It is showing the location, so we can also select the location. So the location is it's it's basically Microsoft data centers. So across the globe, there are more than 160 data centers. Okay. So where the servers are managed, servers are located. So we can also select India-based data centers. Okay. So I am leaving it as a default. And this is the size. So by default, it has selected a size for us. I can change the size. And as per our requirement, I can select the required hardware. So you can say this is the RAM, like 8 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM. Okay, this is number of data disks, and this is the number of processors. So if you want better performance, you can go with this uh, 4 processors, 16 GB RAM, and based on this, there will be more charges. So I'm selecting this one, 8 GB RAM, two CPUs. So it will cost 11,000 per month. Now the username, password. So we have selected the machine type. We have selected the size. After that, I have provided the username. Using this username, I can log into virtual machine, and I will use this password. Okay. So now click on review plus create. Okay. Click on create. So it will take some time. So here is the progress bar, which is telling us that deployment is still in progress. So it is complete now. So click on go to resource. So this is the public IP which is assigned to this machine. Okay, and it's this is the subscription. Now we can manage that virtual machine from here. We can restart as well as stop. Even we can delete this one. So now I'm going to do remote login on that machine. So click here, connect RDP, download RDP file. Click on connect. So I'm providing the username and password which I have given on the portal. So this is the Windows machine provided from Azure. So it's a plain machine, which means there is no software installed. So there is no custom software. There is no web server. So each and everything we have to customize according to our requirement. So from server manager, we can install IaaS server, and we can deploy our applications. So for installing the IaaS server, click here, add roles and features. add roles and features. Click on next. So select this one, role based or feature based installation. Next, next. We have to select this one, web server, IaaS. Add features. Next. So it's .NET Framework 4.6 already included. Okay. Click next. And clicking on next, it will install IaaS server on this machine. Okay. So I'm cancelling this one and also disconnecting this machine. So this is the example of infrastructure as a service. Now I'm showing you a platform as a service example. But before that, I'm deleting the virtual machine. Okay, so it will take some time. Now, all resources, click on add. So we have to use this one, web app. Again, we have to create a resource group, or we can use existing group. Okay. So this is the existing group. I can use this one. And we have to provide unique app name here. So we have to select our technology stack. So I'm selecting ASP.NET version 4.8. We can also deploy .NET Core applications, the .NET Core 2.1, 3.1, and .NET 5. It has all its support. Apart from .NET, we can also deploy other applications, PHP, Node.js, Python. So I'm selecting ASP.NET version 4.8. So ASP.NET version 4.8 is uh, applicable only for Windows. So Linux radio button is disabled. If you select .NET Core 3.1, so .NET Core application can be installed on Linux as well as Windows. So we have options of both. So I'm selecting ASP.NET version 4.1. So there is only this difference, like this machine difference between .NET Core and our traditional ASP.NET applications for the deployment. So you have to deploy a .NET Core application, then select according to the .NET Core version. And if you are going to install traditional ASP.NET application, then select this one, ASP.NET version 4.1 or ASP.NET version 3.5. And for corresponding to each app service, basically we term this as app service. So corresponding to each app service, we have app service plan. Okay. So using app service plan tells us about the uh, required size, required hardware. Basically, app service plan manages the underlying infrastructure. So it also uses a virtual machine, but since we are using this platform as a service and it's not infrastructure as a service offering, so we don't have direct access to virtual machine. So each and everything is managed by Windows Azure platform. So we don't have direct access to hardware. Okay. So this is the example of platform as a service. So this app service plan, it has all the details for the underlying infrastructure. So like you can see here, the size. So the it's basically telling us the RAM or details about the machine. Okay, so you are not getting any option to change its size. So we can do this later on after creating this app service. So click on review plus create. Click on create. It will take some time to create that app service. Meanwhile, I'm going to Visual Studio and creating an MVC project. So this is Visual Studio 2019. So I click on create a new project. So click on this ASP.NET Web application. So this is the .NET Framework 4.7.2 version. I keep it as it is, all the defaults. Click on create. I'm selecting MVC application. Okay. So there is no need for configure for HTTPS. Select on MVC and click on create. So it will take some time. So I'm returning to Azure portal. Yes. So app service is created now. So click on go to resource. So we have this URL. Copy. So it is displaying a standard text. So when I publish my application, so this it will load our application page. Okay. So you can see scale up and scale out. So if you want to change the size of underlying infrastructure, then you can click on this scale up. Okay. So if you want higher performance, then you can click on this production. Now we have better options. So you can see 14 GB RAM, this one, and click on apply. So it is updating the app service plan. So app service plan is managing the infrastructure for us. You can see the activity, whatever activity is performed on that app service, you can see from here. We can also stop that application, clicking on stop. So now our MVC project is created. Okay. So click on publish. Before that, we can run it locally to see its output. So this is the output of our MVC project. Okay. So click on publish, publish. and I'm selecting Azure App Service. You can also deploy directly on Azure Virtual Machine. So select this one, Azure App Service. So here you have to log in with your Azure credentials. If you are not already logged in Visual Studio, so here you have to provide here you have to provide your Azure account here, username and password. So I'm already logged in here. So it is fetching based on that. So this is the app service which I have created from the portal. So select this one, click finish. Okay. And now click on publish. So currently this is the output from our app service. So when it is published, it will be changed. Yes, it is published now, and the app service is being loaded in the browser. Yes. So our MVC project is now published in app service. So you can see these links are also working. Okay. So this is the old output, and this is the new. So using this way, we can publish our projects, standard ASP.NET projects as well as .NET Core projects using app service. Now moving to next concept, that is software as a service. So in the case of software as a service, everything is managed by cloud provider. So hardware and softwares, data, everything is managed. Examples are Gmail, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Dropbox, Google Drive, and Office 365. So we don't have anything to manage. So the whole application is managed by the cloud provider, and we are just using it using browser. So this is the example of software as a service. I've already explained resource and resource groups. So basically, resources are instances of Azure services that we are going to create, like virtual machine, app service, storage accounts, SQL databases, function apps. Okay, so these are the example of resources, and for grouping these resources, we are using Azure Resource Group. As you have seen that I have created from the portal. Before creating any resource, we have to provide a resource name, existing resource group name, or we have to create a new resource group. So it is basically for categorizing the resources. Yeah. So this thing I have explained you what is virtual machine, how we can create virtual machine, how to connect virtual machine. I have explained. Yeah, I have also explained this. App service we have also covered. So app service is a platform as a service offering from Microsoft. We use it to host web applications, REST APIs, and backend services for mobile applications. So apart from .NET applications, we can also host other technology applications, Java, Ruby, Node.js. App service plan, it defines the compute resources required for your application to run. So basically it is managing the underlying infrastructure. And I have explained how to create app service, how to deploy project. Now we will see what is function app. So in function app, we are deploying some piece of code in cloud, like if you have developed some utility code, like sending email, creating PDF, some code which other projects can utilize. Okay. So in that case, we can deploy this in a central location on cloud, and it can be used in multiple projects. So it can be invoked using a URL. So only URL and internet connection is required, and the logic can be used in multiple projects. Okay. So click on Home, create a resource, function apps. So it is not a complete project. It is just a piece of code which we want to install, which we want to deploy on Azure, and there is no charges until no one is using it. If some user is using it, it is invoked, then we have to pay the charges. Otherwise, there is no charge. So I'm creating a resource group, and we have to provide the unique name, and we have to provide runtime information. So we can host .NET Core, Node.js, Java, PowerShell. So I'm selecting .NET, and you can see only there is only version 3.1. So basically, it is a it is hosting only .NET Core application. Okay, so 3.1 version is the .NET Core version. So we can host the logic written only in .NET Core. So click on Review plus Create. Click on Create. So this function app is created. So click on Go to Resource. Okay, so click on Functions here on this link, Functions. Click on Add. So there are two options here. Either we can create our code using this Azure portal. So we have to do our coding using the Azure portal, or we can develop in Visual Studio, and from Visual Studio we can publish to function app. So I'm selecting this develop in portal. Now there are many types of function apps. HTTP trigger. So this function app will be invoked when someone hits the URL. Timer trigger. So it will invoke after a certain time interval. Okay. And again, these are the queue related, service bus related. So if there some record is added in Azure queue, so this function app will be triggered. So I'm selecting this HTTP trigger. HTTP trigger. Click on add. Okay. So we can get the URL of function app from here. We can delete from here. So click on code plus test. So it will create a sample code for us. So it will provide a template and we can change that template according to our logic. So you can see here it has provided a sample code. Okay. So here this is representing the HTTP request and it is for the login. So here we can add our logic, whatever logic we want to execute. Like if you want to uh, write here some email sending code, you can write here. So whenever someone invoke this URL, email will be sent, and that email parameters can be submitted using this HTTP request. So this function can be invoked using HTTP GET as well as HTTP POST. Okay. So if it is in if it is invoked via HTTP GET, then it is expecting a query string here name. So it is expecting a query string. Okay. If it is invoked using HTTP POST, then it is reading the body, and from the body it is uh, retrieving the field name. Okay. So either name can come from query string or it can come from the request body. Okay. And after that it is generating the output. So you can click on test and run. uh, Get function URL. I'm running it directly in the browser. Get function URL. So this is the function URL. Copy. So this is our URL. Now I'm adding the query string name equal to David. So I'm adding this query string because I'm invoking this Azure this function app using HTTP GET request. So I'm providing the query string. So you can see the output. So it has retrieved the name from query string and it has just output the name in the response.